Hello and welcome back to Facelift Act Local. We are here from Daly City live streaming our evening program event. This is day 4, and as of this moment, we are more than halfway through. That's right, we have been giving you 6 nights of live programming to celebrate this Facelift Act Local event this year. And we're going to start this evening and the next couple evenings with a very, very special contribution.
And I'd like to talk about that a little bit. I first moved to Yosemite in 1976, and I met the Parker family. And the Parker family grew up in Yosemite, and they do a blessing at the facelift every year for us. And this year they couldn't, obviously, because it's a virtual event. And in the past, we were never allowed to film or videotape the blessing. But this year, Julia Parker sent us a video and did a blessing for us. And we're going to watch that right now. So I feel very honored.
And I'm going to be singing a blessing for the facelift in Yosemite Valley for Ken Yeager. Sabarabuyo, sabarabe, sabarabuyo, sabarabe, one day. 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 For Yosemite! With the L1 cheese! First people in Yosemite Valley!
Oh, thank you, Julia. That was amazing. And I'm so happy that we could share that with our virtual participants. Every year, the blessing is one of my favorite parts of Yosemite. It is an honor to be welcomed by families like the Parkers in Yosemite for the Yosemite Facelift event, and I am even more honored to feel that they're here with us for the virtual event as well. So I want everybody right now, I want you to close your eyes. Okay, really, no, seriously, close your eyes and imagine that you are at the virtual Facelift campfire. They should be closed, all right? And who is at this campfire? We have your favorite friends from Yosemite Facelift across the fire. We've got Leo Burke and George Ridgely. We've got Jim Painter and Karen next to him. And you maybe arrived a little bit late. You can open your eyes now, okay? Open your eyes, because we're going to get you up to speed. If this is the first night that you're joining us here, we're going to get you up to speed with what this event is, Facelift Act Local. And if you've been here already for a few nights, please bear with us, because we want to remind our new friends what we're trying to do here. We've put together this event to bring you the elements of Yosemite Facelift and the spirit of Yosemite Facelift that we all love. So we have for you the opportunity to pick up litter in your local loved, beloved places. And you would be eligible for our giveaways. Another one of our favorite parts of our program are the evening raffles, where we're able to give away different products from our sponsors. We've put together the opportunity for you to be eligible for giveaways this year. What you have to do is take the pledge. You can go to yosemiteFacelift.com/toolkit. All of this information is available for you there. And then the second thing you have to do to be eligible for giveaways is take a photo of your cleanup and post that photo on social media with the hashtag FaceliftsActLocal. Later on this evening, we'll be giving away several products to people who have taken the pledge and posted their photos. Thank you to everyone who's participating. There have been so many photos coming in from all over the country, even from other parts of the world. We had a video from Saudi Arabia yesterday, and Hazel Finley, thank you Hazel, in the UK participating in Facelift Act Local. Now this is a 6-day long event, but we don't have to only pick up litter 6 days out of the year. This could be an event that we do every day. You know, we have these places that we love outside of Yosemite that need our help. And that's why we're all here. We're all here to help our local places and our communities by giving our hand in picking up and basically resolving an issue, litter, that we haven't been able to otherwise. I want to give a little plug here for one of our partnerships, the American Alpine Club. They are sponsoring our auction, so that's another element here of the Facelift event that is available to you at facelift.givesmart.com. Go check out some of the items there. Your favorite items, like Kathleen Keller's facelift quilt, is there. I don't think she has any bids on that quilt, so go check that out. The American Alpine Club has been a really good partner to us this year. Heidi McDowell, who's the event coordinator there, has been working with me to also strategize for their event, the Kragan Classic. So if you want to go check that out, that's October 19th through the 25th at americanalpine.org. They have some workshops and events similar to this event. We've been working together to move into and pivot into this virtual environment. So thank you to the American Alpine Club this year. They've given us a tremendous help for putting this on. Finally, I want to thank our other sponsors. We have the North Face, who is co-presenting sponsor of Facelift Act Local, and
we also have Subaru. And also like to thank all the participants that are sending pictures in with that hashtag Facelift Act Local. And a lot of these pictures have the trash that they've gathered, and it's amazing what people all over the country have found. And Subaru, I should mention, has been one of our best partners in the last 4 years. They've been great. They're the official car of the Facelift. And we have a little video coming up here after the hellos and a couple little commercials. And Denise Coogan's going to talk about what Subaru does as a company to not feed the landfills.
Hey everybody, this is Jason Keith with the Access Fund, AMGA, and Yosemite Climbing Association. As you may know, with the pandemic, YCA can't do the 17th annual Yosemite Facelift this year in the Valley. So we're doing an Act Local program this year. So get out on the public lands, wherever you live, and clean it up. Let's do this thing. Hashtag Facelift Act Local.
Hello. Thank you for participating in Facelift Act Local. My name is Michelle Look, and I am excited to clean around the Merced River area because there's been a lot of extra outdoor activity this year and a lot of new people entering the outdoor spaces. There has been a little more extra use of these areas, and I am excited to make sure that we are educating others and being able to clean them up for future use.
So I'm out here for my Act Local Yosemite Facelift, and I'm at Bald Rock Preserve in South Carolina. Many people know it as like a party spot after hours. People come light campfires, throw beer bottles, there's glass everywhere. Beer bottles, some poops that people can't pick up, but had to get on rope to come down here to clean up all the rest of this trash. But great views, starting to get rained on. Might have to head out soon. My little setup, Texasing back up. Trash bag, handy grabber, and attachment so I can't drop it. Check in with you guys later.
Hi Facelift people, my name is Kai Lindsay and I run the social media for Yosemite Facelift, and this year I am doing a lot of work for Facelift Act Local, so you may have received an email from me asking you to pick up trash in your local communities. Currently I am in Moab, Utah right now, enjoying this like 91-degree heat. But I will be here all week long looking at your photos, reposting them, and picking Instagram winners. So for the giveaways. So post cool photos, go outside, pick up some trash, and I'm really excited to look at all of your posts. Enjoy Facelift!
What kind of value are you looking for with your next new vehicle? With Subaru, you get Kelley Blue Book's 2020 Best Resale Value brand. 2020 lowest 5-year cost to own brand, and most trusted brand for 6 consecutive years. No wonder Kelley Blue Book also picked Subaru as their 2020 best overall brand. A trusted brand and a proven value. It's easy to love a Subaru.
Hello, I'm Denise Coogan, Manager of Environmental Partnerships for Subaru of America. Thank you for joining us here for Facelift Act Local. It's a recycling and cleanup event that Subaru is helping to sponsor, and we're really glad that you're here participating. In 2004, Subaru was the first automotive manufacturer to become zero landfill, meaning that nothing from the production of our vehicles is thrown into the landfill. Over the years, we've developed a set of principles for a more sustainable manufacturing. We start by reducing waste being generated, reusing where we can, and then recycling what is left. We took these principles that we had honed at the Subaru plant and put them to use in the national parks. And we started with 3 parks, Grand Teton, Denali, and Yosemite. We've been working with them for 5 years now, helping them to increase the recycling and decrease the amount of waste that's being generated by the visitors that are coming to the national parks. The recycling rate is going up, which is really a good thing. At Denali, they started out at 22% recycling. Now they're up to 45%. At Grand Teton National Park, they started out at 26%. They're now up to 50%. And in Yosemite, they started out at 23%, and they're at 40% recycling rate. The national recycling rate is around 34%. The parks are exceeding that rate, and they continue to improve each year. We also measure the amount of waste being generated by each visitor. Over the last 5 years, the amount of waste per visitor is decreasing. That tells me that our education efforts are working. People are being more thoughtful about what they are bringing into the parks and what they are leaving behind. The Leave No Trace principles are always good to remember when you're venturing out to enjoy the national parks and other public lands. One of those principles is to pack it in and pack it out if you can't recycle properly at the parks. One of the great projects at the Grand Teton National Parks is the way they're doing their composting. When they started, they were composting 73 tons of waste per year. Last year, they composted 274 tons of waste. That's a remarkable amount of organic material that's being kept out of the landfills. One of the projects that Denali National Park has is to recycle their snack wrappers. In 2018, they recycled 2 tons. Last year, they recycled 3.4 tons. These are hard to recycle items that are sent to TerraCycle, where they are recycled into park benches, picnic tables, and chairs that can be used back into our communities. One of the projects that Yosemite National Park has is to increase the amount of containers they have throughout the park so people can recycle right. We've been working with Recycle Across America to standardize recycling labels in these 3 parks, as well as many other national parks and public lands. We want to make it easy for people to be successful when they recycle. By just looking at the RAA labels, it's easy to discern what material goes in which container. There's approximately 331 million visitors to the national park units every year. Visitors can really help by just bringing your reusable water bottles. There's great filling stations in the parks that you can use and fill up your water bottles. Bring your reusable coffee mugs. Opt out for paper maps if you can. If you're in an area where you have good cell service, you can use electronic maps. If you're camping, bring reusable containers and take them back home. To reduce composting, just bring enough food that you'll need for your camping trip. Make sure you put the right material in the right container. Don't just fill up a bag of stuff and throw it in the trash, especially if that bag contains plastic bottles and cans that you can put in the recycling. So always make sure that you're recycling right. We have some wonderful partners that are helping Subaru with the national parks. The National Parks Conservation Association have been with us from day one, and they've been wonderful in helping us get this project off the ground and really helping us with the National Park Service, which is just another wonderful partner that we've been working with, as well as the National Park Foundation. Leave No Trace has been a wonderful partner with Subaru for over 20 years. Their educational programs have been helping people enjoy the outdoors for many years. We work with community landfills and recycling centers to ensure that once the material is collected in the parks, that it can be sent to recyclers. We also work with schools, putting together projects for kids to work on, because really they are our future. Those are the people who will be coming forward and carrying this torch into the next 100 years. And we're also working with our concessionaires at the national parks, and they've been wonderful in helping us expand this program into their own areas. It really does take a village, and it really takes the entire community to come together pulling in the same direction. We all want to belong to something bigger than ourselves, and we are going to make sure that we leave this world, and especially the national parks, a little better for our next generation. Our Subaru retailers are doing their part to love the environment. In the last 2 years, our Subaru retailers have recycled over 4 million pieces of hard-to-recycle waste. Things such as snack wrappers, disposable coffee cups, lids and straws, coffee and creamer capsules. All those things were taken and made into things that can be used in the communities. Today, when you're picking up the litter, make sure you go through it and pull out those items that you can take to your participating Subaru retailer. You can go to TerraCycle.com to find out who's participating in the program. On behalf of Subaru of America and all of our Subaru retailers, we really want to thank you for coming out to participate in Facelift Act Local.
Yes, I love that. Thank you, Denise, for giving us so many examples of what corporations can do to help us deal with our waste responsibly. I also want to thank Abana Jacobs at Subaru. She has been helping us with these events over the years, actually. At this point, she's helped us grow to the point where we're at now. So thank you, Abana. And also, this event would not be happening. There would be no YouTube live stream if it weren't for our wonderful AV extraordinaires, Ed Whittle and Jim Painter. It's actually Jim's birthday today. So if anybody wants to send Jim happy birthday, please send him those vibes or a message if you know Jim personally. So happy birthday, Jim. We saw a couple cool videos there. I wanted to give a shout out to Christian Murphy, Looking Glass, South Carolina. So cool. You like rigged a whole system, rappelled in, cleaned up trash at your crag. Love that. And thank you, Kaya, in marketing for highlighting all of these wonderful videos and photos that we're seeing of cleanups around the country.
We have 3 great presentations tonight in our program. First one's going to be another video by Max Bashini called Art of Our Culture. After that, we're going to show Brittany Gorse's Dream the Impossible Dream. And after that, following that, we'll have a presentation by Alex Honnold. And from that, we're going to go right into Max Bashini's movie called Art of Our Culture. And this is about climbing photography, much of which we have in our new museum that we're trying to build down in Mariposa, which about another month we should be done with that.
I began climbing at about 14 or 15 years old in the San Fernando Valley at Stony Point, and I'd never really been anywhere beyond that for about a year, and then I went out to Joshua Tree and it kind of blew my mind. In Yosemite, I really had no clue what it looked like. This was probably 1972. I don't even remember any photos. I think I'd seen something about Warren Harding in 1970 climbing the Dawn Wall. Like, instead of graduating high school, I ended up with some friends that were going to the valley and came through 41 from Fresno. Came through the tunnel and there was Yosemite. My work was really directly inspired by Tom Frost and Glenn Denny's work.
So Glenn Denny photos and Tom Frost photos were interspersed throughout all the media at that time because they were the two main photographers. And I didn't even know who they were, but you see these images and you go, oh my God. They were doing first ascents on El Cap and other places around Yosemite. The difference was they brought a camera with them and they knew how to use it. It enabled people to dream about doing El Cap and Half Dome and some of these other climbs.
The concept that I could read really early on is that you're a participant in this journey along with your friends, with the fact that I understood it. They were kind of speaking the same language I was, or I obviously was speaking the same language they were. And looking at the climbing photographs and looking at their portraits of climbers, I could see that these were their partners, and I knew it was their partners simply because I knew who Tom Frost was. I knew what he meant to Royal Robbins. And so as my own path in climbing photography went on, I could see how that relationship with those people in those photographs became more paramount than the actual photographs themselves. And at that point, I think my work began to transcend. When I started making Stonemaster photographs, I kind of realized that maybe that this was my calling. My connection with Yosemite climbing and my connection with Yosemite photography or climbing photography is kind of deep. I think that a lot of the photographers that come here and work also feel that connection. I know a lot of these guys, and so I've talked to them, and they also feel that connection, and they also look at what came before them. Part of the thing we're trying to express here at this gallery is to look at what's been collected and try to think about it as a continuation. And to that end, the kind of photography that I like the most is the photograph that was made between friends. Those are the hardest ones to find sometimes. Sometimes it's easy to find professionals, and that's kind of a beautiful photograph. But the problem I have with a professional photograph versus a photograph made between friends is professional, you always know there's a camera between you and that subject, or the subject knows there's a camera between you and the photographer. Whereas with a friend, the camera's just up for a moment and then it's gone. It's almost as if it was just a pause in the conversation. My work with Dean Potter was kind of a really personal journey for me. It was really based on a friendship more than anything. Dean could have worked with anyone. He enjoyed working with me more because of our friendship. We really got along well, and we were able to do things at its own pace, and I was independent enough that I allowed him to have his independence. So I never really put too much input into what we were doing. I let him have his vision, and then I simply refined the vision. And it was that way all along, where it was this kind of an adventure. We would hang out, and there would be other monkeys hanging out with us, and Dean had sort of a vision to do something, and everybody sort of had their role in making that vision happen. But it was more, we were all kind of doing it because it was the adventure of what was actually going on, what he was going to do. But yeah, I loved that guy, and I think he loved me, and we were like, it was an exciting ride, and it kind of arced the same time that the monkeys were happening, and I miss him every day. And the photographs that I made, even though they're as soulful as I could make them, I don't think they really express fully how much he actually meant to me and a lot of people. So yeah, that's one of the Blessings and curses, I guess, of making these kind of photographs is you get so involved with the people you're making the photographs, and then they pass, then like Sean Leary, like Roberta Nunez, like, John Backer, like a lot of people in my photographs, they're gone. You make a photograph that you think that really touches how you feel about them, and you have that to always look at. Feelings aren't facts. They're simply part of a memory, and that's something that's changed. When you look in that photograph maybe for a moment, you can get the feeling that is a fact in that moment. So that's why I really do try to make my photographs as if I'm having a conversation with that subject, with that climb, or with that landscape, whatever. We're fully engaged with each other, because I always want to remember that moment. And I always want to try to express something about my subject matter. So, so there you have it.
Dean's big on, climbing photography as an art and not just as a documentation. Not only has great photos on his own, but he also has an eye for picking the photographs that some of the 60s photographers did and other photographers, and he can clean those photos up and really make them look good. And
when you see things presented in the way that we are going to present them and are currently presenting them, you understand how this is the art of our culture.
I love that. I have had a lot of conversations with Dean about this idea of the art of our culture, and I am so lucky to be joined by Ken Yeager, who was actually in the film. Thanks, Max Buscini, for putting that together for us, the Yosemite Climbing Association, and for Dean. Our work in Mariposa has been a labor of love at the Climbing Museum and Gallery. And Ken, how long in the making has that space been?
well, the Mariposa space has been a little bit over a year, but if you count the whole project, it was started 28 years ago with the intention of having a permanent climbing exhibit in Yosemite National Park. And proud to announce that we actually accomplished that in June. And while setting up for that that exhibit, we had to get everything out of storage. And so I rented this building so we could lay it all out there and put this exhibit together. And I realized, hey, this is a pretty good little space. Why don't we take everything else and we make a museum out of it? And so that's what we did, and we hope to be open in about a month. It will be a limited opening because of COVID. Hope everybody's safe out there and wearing your mask when you're cleaning up trash, because it's very important. We don't want anybody to get sick. But I'm super excited that we have this space, and with Dean's work on the photographs, and we can mat and frame now and print, it's really quite amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. I think, there's kind of always, well, since the 50s and before that in the 30s, but since the 50s, there's been a ragtag group of climbers in Yosemite Valley, and I really appreciate the work we're doing with the Yosemite Climbing Association and with Facelift, because I think we're coming together more recently in a more organized way and really giving a voice to the group of climbers who have propelled rock climbing into really where it's at now, which is a major endeavor in the outdoor industry, something that is creating, a lot of media attention, even outside of the climbing community at this point. And I think that's due to some of the efforts like ours with Yosemite Climbing Association. I wanted to come back to that idea of the art of our culture and how we never really have had the platform, right, to show all of this art in one place and all of these artifacts in one place. And for you, what has it been like to see people come through and their responses to the space as we've had visitors through the space in Mariposa?
Well, it's been amazing, Allison. I should say that a large part of our recent success is due to Allison Gonzalez. I do have to mention that, because couldn't do it without you. We're a good team together. But it
takes vision as well, though, and I think you and Dean have different pieces of that vision, and it's really a collaboration to move it forward.
Well, what's kind of amazing is a lot of this stuff you don't even know it exists or if it still exists, and so until somebody comes out of the woodwork, as you mentioned, and brings this stuff to our attention, I have no idea it's out there. And so
the artifacts and the photographs.
Yeah, both.
Tomorrow, I want to plug, we're going to see a presentation from Lauren Delaunay, who's on the Yosemite Valley Search and Rescue team, who will be showing photographs that have never been seen from female climbers in Yosemite Valley. And as you said, Ken, you're absolutely right. People have to bring those things to your attention. There are boxes of photos in garages all around Northern California, outside of California, negatives of climbing photos that have never been seen. And so, our hope...
Bring them to us, and we'll take care of them.
Is to exhibit those at some point and to really grow this idea of rock climbers in Yosemite having that presence culturally.
Yeah, the other thing I don't want to lose, too, are the stories. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to hear some of the climbing stories from some of the 1930s climbers by going to their houses and they gave us their gear and told all these wonderful stories.
Yeah, it's so much about the stories and passing those stories on from generation to generation. Well, thank you, Max. Thank you, Dean. At this point, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to our channel if you like the content we're producing here tonight. And also like the channel, like the content. If you have any feedback for us, you can also let us know. We are moving into the second portion of our evening, so just to give you an idea of how the flow will go, we have Brittany Goris, Dream an Impossible Dream, and then we're going to close the evening with Alex Honnold. In between, we will have some giveaways, but before we get into a new video from War Girl leading us into Brittany Goris, I'm a little bit thirsty, Ken. Can you hand me a beer?
Would you like something?
Yeah, yes, please.
Okay, I'll grab you something here. How about one of these? I'm
Thanks,
thirsty.
Trash Grabber. Love that.
I'm gonna grab one too.
Perfect. Cerveza Atletica, Athletic Brewing Company. Cheers. Let's get into War Girl and Brittany Goris.
Cause my car don't work. Don't feel guilty when you treat yourself. Your business don't belong to no one else. Oh, I've always been told I'm a real good time, and I never dance alone cause you know I'm fine. I never dance alone cause you know I'm fine. I never dance alone cause you know I'm fine. until it's 2069. 40 years to go until it's 2069. Don't feel guilty when you treat yourself. Your business don't belong to no one else. If you ask your friends, I'm a real good time. And I never dance alone, cause you know I'm fine. I never dance alone, cause you know I'm fine. I never dance alone, cause you know I'm fine. Never dance alone. Never dance alone. Oh, never dance alone. Oh, never dance alone. No, I never dance alone, cause you know I'm fine. I never dance alone, cause you know I'm fine. You know I'm fine. You know I'm fine. No, I never dance alone, cause you know I'm fine.
Good evening, Yosemite Facelift. What an honor it is to be here, sort of, with all of you in some virtual version of the center of the climbing world. While we aren't together in the park itself, this event is still a celebration of Yosemite Valley and everything it represents. Yosemite has always been one of the biggest proving grounds in climbing, a center stage for the biggest dreams to be dreamt and history to be made generation after generation since the beginning of climbing. That's why, through an excessive amount of inspirational quotes, I'm going to talk tonight about how to do exactly that. My name is Brittany Goris. I like traveling and living in my van, drawing pictures, collecting bones, and taking the longest road from you at Settlers of Catan. But more than any of that, I mostly like climbing rocks, just like all of you. So much so that I've made it something of a professional thing over the last couple years. To be a professional climber has been my dream since I was 17. That was the year, for me, that climbing went from being a hobby to my life's passion. I was already a decade into this sport at that point, but I had never really taken it very seriously before. I never really thought about progression, nor had any direction in my climbing before, but that was when I started. I was a freshman in college and about a V5 gym climber. Not that I can do much more on plastic these days, but I was good enough that I could hold my own in local competitions at the time. I wasn't winning, but I was getting close enough to start to wonder if maybe one day I could. I started to want to get better. With the help and enthusiasm of my college coach, Justin, I started training, and as a result, I started to get a bit stronger. The more I progressed, the hungrier I got for more. And it didn't take me long for me to decide that I was in this game to see how far I could go and how fast I could get there. That was my objective. I started reading books about training, and the first thing I learned was how that was the completely wrong way to set a goal. If I asked any one of you in person right now what your goal in climbing was, how many of you instinctually thought, my goal is to get better? The problem with that is that while it is certainly achievable, how will you know when you get there? Instead of just getting stronger, the research and advice of more learned people than I led me to adopt a different strategy that has stayed with me for over a decade and structures my climbing even today. Just as no two routes or boulder problems are the same, every climber is unique in their methods, motivations, and style. Thus, what works for me might be completely useless to you, but that disclaimer aside, I hope to share my personal approach to goal setting, which I consider largely responsible for my success in climbing. I've spent the last 2 decades of my climbing career using research, experimentation, and luck to find what works for me. So allow me to be your guinea pig and save you a bit of the work. Just as I aspire to be as a climber, this is ever evolving, but here's what I've got so far. The first step in the process is setting short-term goals. These are things that can be achieved in a matter of days, weeks, or even months. It could be setting a new grade or a specific route, or even just doing your first pull-up. Short-term goals are important stepping stones toward any longer-term agenda because they are achievable in a reasonable enough time to keep motivation high and inspiration close at hand. Rather than slowly and aimlessly chipping away at something that might seem impossible, instead target objectives that might serve as checkpoints in your growth. Accomplishing these will keep you mentally on task, and the taste of success will keep you hungry for more. At the same time, you're building strength, technique, and experience that will make your bigger goals more attainable in the long term. This is the easiest part because the stakes are only medium. To accomplish short-term goals, you don't have to make very many big sacrifices, and if you do, it's not for a very prolonged period of time. You don't have to face the doubts and fears of committing to something big, and you don't have to worry about what will happen if a significant effort doesn't pay off the way you expect. These challenges certainly must be faced, but not until a bit later. The next part of the process is developing your long-term aspirations. These are probably the ones you think of first and the ones you might be most inspired by. A long-term goal could be something that might take months or even years to accomplish. Something you know you can do, but that you know will take dedication and discipline to complete. Again, it can't just be to be a better climber, because you will never know when you've succeeded, and inevitably your motivation will wane. It needs to be something specific and achievable. You might not be directly working towards your long-term goal right away, depending on what it is. The first time I set long-term goals, I said that I wanted to climb V10. At the time, I had never even climbed V6 outside, so I wasn't about to just go try the same V10 for the next year and have any hope of success. Instead, I worked out short-term goals that I knew would make me the kind of climber that could one day achieve my bigger objectives. Eventually, my focus in climbing changed, and I moved away from bouldering before ever actually accomplishing that goal, but I've used the same approach on many sport and trad climbs more successfully. Over the past winter, my semi-long-term goal was a climb called Stingray in Joshua Tree. I chose it knowing it would take a tremendous effort, but once again, I broke it down into short-term goals that served as stepping stones toward the eventual send. Instead of just going a muerte right away, I made short-term goals to link sections together on top rope, place all the gear on lead, one hang it, and then start moving my high point closer and closer to the chains until eventually all that was left was to put it all together. Setting all these mini goals accomplished a number of things. It gave me a sense of progress and accomplishment that kept me motivated when I was still too far from the end goal to even feel like I had a shot. It ensured that I was learning and gaining something from each attempt because I wasn't just aimlessly throwing myself at a climb that was way over my head. It took away a lot of the intimidation too, because I could focus on concrete things that I could actually accomplish. The approach might look different depending on the goal, but the idea remains the same. Once you begin setting long-term goals, the stakes start to get a bit higher because they require a bigger commitment. It's probably something you want more badly and something you invest more time and energy into accomplishing. It's when you start having to ask yourself how hard you're willing to work to achieve your goals and what you're willing to sacrifice to do so. Because great success doesn't come for free. Every single one of you watching this has virtually limitless potential in climbing, but what really counts is having the discipline to put it to use. In the words of Olympic athlete Caitlin Ohashi, we all have it in us to be exceptional, and we all have it in us to find excuses not to show up and do the work. Thus, a part of setting your long-term and even your short-term goals is the inherent commitment that you will do exactly that. Put in the work. Because just staring at a vision board isn't going to get you up your projects. My college coach, Justin, said that he would always ask himself at the end of a training session if he had done absolutely everything possible he could that day, and the answer would always be no. It's worth thinking about. Moving on, just your short-term and long-term goals by themselves can make a strong foundation for personal growth within climbing. But I find there's a third type of goal that is often overlooked and should always be incorporated into the mix, and that is your crazy dreams. These are the things so outrageous that you're almost too afraid to dream them. The kinds of things that might be your answer to the question, if you could do absolutely anything with your climbing, do any one climb in the world, what would it be? The kind of things you watch movies about, the things that truly inspire you, the kind of things you think are reserved for a version of you in an alternate universe where you have unlimited time, money, strength, youth, whatever. I was in college the first time I acknowledged my crazy dreams. I said that I wanted to be a professional climber and that I wanted to climb 514, even though I had never even climbed 512 at the time. It seemed like a pipe dream, reserved for a climber far better than I, but I worked up the courage to do it, to dream it nonetheless. In doing so, I unknowingly set myself on the path toward eventually making it a reality. After you've got all three types of goals comes the most important part. Physically write them down. In one of my favorite quotes from Greg S. Reed, a dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. A plan backed by action makes your dreams come true. Thinking about those crazy dreams might seem inconceivable at first, but by writing them down, you take the first step towards setting yourself on the path towards making it a reality. At the beginning of every new year, for as long as I can remember, I've written down my New Year's resolutions, which usually include a combination of the three types of goals. In 2018, I wrote down that I wanted to visit Indian Creek for the first time. It served as a stepping stone towards becoming a better crack climber, since that year I had also written down that I wanted to climb 513 on gear, a longer term goal. That same year I also wrote down that I wanted to touch the rock climb To Bolt or Not to Be, which had been a crazy dream for many years that I had never fully acknowledged until I actually wrote it down. That year I went to Indian Creek. I set my first 4 513s on gear, and the next year I touched To Bolt. Although I never finished it, I would never have even tried if I hadn't written it down. It's easy to think that the things we dream about are only fantasies. I know I sure did when I first wrote mine down. It's scary to try and see yourself on such a big stage, and that fear can hold you back from fully committing to pursuing your goals. Failure is always a possibility, and when faced with it, our fragile human egos throw up their defenses. They tell us the dream is too big because it's easier not to try than to try and face potential failure. The fear of failure can prevent even the best of us from ever leaving our comfort zones to try and achieve our true potential. What's important to remember is, in this ego trap, is that failure is life's greatest teacher. Without trials and hardship, there can be no learning and growth, which is actually the true objective behind any of this. As motivational speaker Hal Elrond said, the purpose of a goal is not to reach the goal. The purpose of the goal is to become the type of person that can achieve any goal, by always giving it everything you have regardless of your results. It's who you become through that process that matters more than actually reaching any one goal. Just because it's scary, or it seems impossible, or you don't know how to even begin, doesn't mean the dream isn't worth dreaming. Like a self-fulfilling prophecy, by aspiring towards your goals and then physically giving your all to try and achieve them, you become the kind of person who is capable of anything you could imagine to be possible. Besides, once you start, you'll find out that even though the dream may be scary or intimidating, once you break it down into small and achievable steps, the process itself almost never is. To wrap this up, I've only got 2 more cheesy quotes to share, starting with the one that inspired this entire thing. By Terence McKenna. He says, "Nature loves courage. You make the commitment, and nature will respond to that commitment by removing impossible obstacles. Dream the impossible dream, and the world will not grind you under. It will lift you up." This is the trick. This is what all these teachers and philosophers who really counted, who really touched the alchemical gold, this is what they understood. This is the shamanic dance in the waterfall. This is how magic is done, by hurling yourself into the abyss and discovering it's a feather bed. So I challenge everyone here watching this video to think about if you could do absolutely anything with your climbing or your life in general, what would it be? Think about it, and if you never have before, go write it down. Take the first step towards it, and you might find that someday you surprise yourself by finding that you had what it took in you all along. At the end of the day, the mind is a true athlete. Your body is simply the tool you use to get stuff done, which is why having this kind of focus is so important. In the words of one final quote from one of my biggest heroes, Todd Skinner, keep dreaming, stay hungry, and remember that there is no finish line. Thank you all for listening, good luck out there, and have a good night.
We just saw Dream the Impossible Dream with Brittany Goris, and she put that together especially for us for Facelift Act Local. Thank you, Brittany. Wonderful to have that tailored contribution to our event. I loved her ideas of laying out the plan for accomplishing mega large goals, and that is to set them out in small, achievable steps. A lot of the time when I'm climbing, that is what allows me to move forward, is thinking about the next move rather than all of the moves after that next move. Ken, was there ever a really large goal or climb that you worked on over time, and what did that feel like?
Well, I've had a lot of goals over the years. The first big goal that I had was at 13 years old. I saw El Capitan for the first time, and I decided right then and there that I had to climb it. And in order to achieve that, I had to teach myself how to aid climb, how to haul, and eventually did it about 5 years. When I was 18 years old, I did it 4 times, so that was very rewarding. And another goal that I had in climbing was probably the hardest free climb I ever did, and it's not that hard by today's standards. It's like 12 plus or 13A or something, but it took me like 6 months to get it, and I worked on it every week, twice a week. Took my rest days, got stronger and stronger on it, and eventually I made it. And then, of course, the biggest goal I ever did was the climbing museum and the facelift. I wanted the facelift to go outside of Yosemite National Park and to have a permanent climbing museum. And
Yeah, over 28 years, I would say there were lots of small achievable steps on that pathway to establishing a space for the museum.
I don't let go. I'm like a little ankle biter. So,
Great.
And I hold on.
Well, let's get into our giveaways. So, Ken, are you going to get ready with a drum roll for that final grand prize?
I am a crappy drummer, but I'll try.
Okay, all right, we're practicing right now. Perfect. Can you hand me the 2 BD headlamps?
I'd be glad to.
Wonderful. We have 2 BD headlamps, one for our giveaway participant and another for that person's friend.
His and hers.
Perfect. His and hers. From Eureka, Montana, we have Stephen Hughes. So thank you, Stephen. Second, I have the, let's see, Speed Zip 24 liter. And that is going to Roseanne Costaneda. Thank you, Roseanne. And then, yep, Ken, can you hand me the Street Creek? This is going to Scott Cole. And Scott is actually your friend, Ken, down in Nayarit. In Mexico.
In Mexico.
Yeah.
All right, Scott.
Yeah, good work. Thank you for participating. And at this point, I am going to be moving into photos of our products. The first photo I have is of the DOS Parka. It's a Patagonia jacket. Patagonia has been our sponsor from the very beginning. So this is the 17th annual facelift. We've got the DOS Parka going to Amy Nash. Congratulations, Amy. And next, the Micro Puff hoodie, also from Patagonia. And I recognize this name and this face. Kendall Lee. Thank you so much for participating.
Awesome.
And okay, are you ready? Are you ready with the drum roll?
I'll try.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Let's do it together.
Thank you.
Subaru has donated very generously 6 unisex single-speed bikes. We're giving away 1 tonight, and we've got 2 more Saturday, Sunday. And that is going to Laura Dowling. So excellent, Laura. Thank you so much for participating. Yeah. Woo. So our final presentation this evening is from a climber you may have heard of, Alex Honnold, and he will be answering some questions about stewardship and mindfulness around how we interact with the spaces we love and the spaces we climb in. These are questions that were put together by the YCA and also the North Face, and so thank you to the North Face who helped us get this presentation from Alex. The North Face is a co-presenting sponsor of Facelift Act Local. They've been a very good partner to us. And without further ado, I think we should roll Alex's presentation.
Hello everyone, I am Alex Honnold. I'm a professional rock climber and representing the Yosemite Facelift today. Just want to thank everybody for participating in the Facelift Act Local this year. It's too bad we can't be gathering in person to actually go clean up Yosemite, but we can make a difference in our local communities. It's important to sort of act collectively for the better good here. And so I will be answering a few questions about why I think stewardship is important and why I think it's important to act locally like that, and about my relationship with Yosemite. So bear with me, I will be answering some questions here. Here we go. So what does Yosemite mean to me, and why is it important to engage in protecting and caring for it, along with so many of our great public spaces? So Yosemite for me, I mean, it means a lot to me. You know, it's kind of the heart of the climbing world. Yosemite is one of the most inspiring climbing areas on Earth, and it's where I've spent, you know, almost the majority of my climbing life, I suppose. I've probably spent more time climbing in Yosemite than anywhere else in the world, maybe. And it's just so, I mean, it's magical. You know, I've participated in the Facelift maybe 5 or 7 times. I mean, basically any year that I'm in Yosemite in the fall, I participate in the Facelift. And actually, I mean, you know, if we're just talking about stewardship and the importance of collective action, it's funny because I used to participate in the Facelift more often, except as the world has gotten warmer, Yosemite season basically doesn't start until mid-October or November now. You know, I mean, I remember when I started climbing 10, 15 years ago, I would go to Yosemite at the beginning of September. And now that is just, it's just totally out of the question. It's just way too hot. And so the last couple of years, I haven't even showed up in Yosemite in time for the Facelift because I just don't even come until several weeks later when it's cooler. I mean, it's like one of those subtle signs of the changing world, but it's just too hot in Yosemite now, early season. But yeah, I mean, I think it's important to protect places like that. I mean, really, there are kind of 2 levels of protecting public spaces and engaging in stewardship. I mean, there's the very straightforward level, which is what the Facelift engages in, which is just cleaning up our park. And I think that's important just to show the Park Service that climbers are good stewards of the land, that we care about cleaning up after ourselves, that we leave no trace. I mean, you know, I think that's kind of like the bare minimum that each of us as individuals needs to at least take care of the places that we recreate in, just to make sure that other people can enjoy a good experience as well. But I think the deeper level of stewardship is worrying about things like climate change and voting and, I mean, you know, electrifying society, cleaning the grid, like all these bigger, it's hard to talk about cleaning up trash in a park without immediately going to the bigger issues. But the reality is that climate change is having a bigger impact on Yosemite than litter. You know, it's like, I think the Facelift is a great way to clean up after ourselves, to make sure that the park looks great. But, you know, addressing things like climate change are perhaps more pressing, just because when the whole forest dies and then catches fire, which is what's happening right now in California, you know, a couple pieces of litter by the road seem pretty inconsequential compared to hundreds of thousands of acres burning. Or actually now, I mean, millions of acres in California. It's totally insane. Okay, end rant. So next question. Due to the pandemic, the annual Yosemite Facelift programming has shifted from a week of service to clean the park to a week of local stewardship. All of our participants are providing services in places they've identified as near or dear to their hearts that need a facelift right now. Has there been a time in your athletic career when your pursuits allowed you to really connect with a local place? Did this connection motivate you to be active in addressing a local social or environmental issue? Where was this place and what action did you take? Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, basically all of my experiences as a professional climber, or just really my outdoor climbing experiences, have encouraged me to be more of an environmentalist, more of a steward, you know, to protect our public lands more. It'd be hard to put my finger on exactly which places had the biggest impact, but I mean, honestly, going to Yosemite and being part of the Yosemite Facelift every year has had an impact on me. I think over the years, I've also played a small part in developing a few climb areas, and those kinds of experiences help me appreciate what goes into building a quality, sustainable trail, things like that. You know, basically how to best develop a climbing area in a way that will stand the test of time. And I think in general, just by climbing outdoors all the time, I have gained a greater appreciation for our natural world and for trying to protect our natural world. It's also by climbing in the same areas many years in a row, I also see changes more readily, which makes me much more engaged on issues like climate change. Going to Patagonia 3 or 4 times over the last 6 years or so, I've seen the glaciers recede quite a bit, enough so that now the approaches to many of the classic routes are totally different. And, that obviously makes me much more engaged in voting, let's say. Okay, next question. What do I believe is the power of engaging in local stewardship, and why is it important? I mean, what's the classic quote with think global, act local? I mean, I think that acting locally is kind of the most accessible means of making a difference in the world for most of us. We live in a place, and even if we think about big global principles and big important issues like climate change, let's say, the reality is that we can have the biggest impact on our own local communities. And so I think it's better to start small. I mean, it's kind of the same principles as training. You start with small, concrete steps, and you sort of build up to bigger goals. Yeah, I mean, it's all about having the biggest impact where you can. Okay, next question. We've all experienced big changes in the last several months. Facelifts programming went from in-person to virtual as one example. And to be fair, pretty much every other organization has also gone to virtual programming just because it's impossible to meet in person right now. So how has COVID-19 and the global health crisis impacted me as an athlete? In what ways has it changed the way I think about or engage with the outdoors? I mean, the reality is that my experience as an outdoor athlete hasn't really changed that much due to COVID. I was lucky enough to live in the state of Nevada for the lockdown, and that state explicitly allowed outdoor recreation throughout lockdown. So I was, allowed to go to crags, and there basically just aren't that many climbers in Nevada relative to the amount of vast public land. And so I was able to climb nonstop through COVID. Obviously all the gyms are closed, but that doesn't really matter because in Nevada, like near my home, there's just so much outdoor rock climbing available. So, for me personally, I'm just incredibly fortunate that my climbing has probably been better because of COVID, because I'm not able to travel for work events. There are no events. I'm not flying to something like the Facelift. And so instead, I'm just staying at home and climbing outside all the time. And I recognize that that's a sort of unusual position, and that I've been incredibly lucky in that way, but I've gotta make the best of it. So I've been developing some new climbing areas, putting up some new routes, and basically just enjoying my local climbing. So everyone has a ripple effect on the people around them, either positive or negative, and we all need more positive influences than ever right now. What are some ways that you've managed to stay motivated, pick yourself up, and be the best person that you can? That's like the ultimate question. It's like, how do you be the best person that you can be? And that's a challenge. I think through a couple months of COVID and lockdown, I was probably a little less motivated than normal. And then for whatever reason in the last month, I've been maybe more motivated than normal. I don't know. I think sometimes you just have to harness your motivation when you have it. I know that I personally go through natural swings, and I try not to get too down on myself if I'm slightly unmotivated for a bit, just because I know that it will come back around, and when I am fired up, I can work quite hard and do a lot of things. I don't know. I mean, yeah, how do you stay motivated? There's definitely something to be said for surrounding yourself with positive motivations. Other people who are, uplifting in the right ways. Like we all have our friends who we're impressed by, we're inspired by. I've recently been training with a friend of mine who's just incredibly talented at everything. Every time I hang out with him, I just think I should be working a little harder, doing a little more. And so, I think being able to surround yourself with people like that who just make you want to be better at what you do, that's certainly a good start. But that's a challenge. I think everyone's always trying to figure out how to get the most out of their life, and it's not always easy. Okay, what advice do I have for folks who are maybe just starting out in their journey to connect with the outdoors? Yeah, I don't know. I personally don't think that anyone needs to connect with the outdoors if they don't like to. Plenty of people are totally content to live in New York City, focus on career, focus on the arts, focus on humanist type activities. And that's fine. I'm totally into that. There are billions of people on Earth. Not all of them need to go outdoors and recreate outdoors. But I think that for those who are interested or motivated or inspired by the outdoors, I think that, slightly cliche, but they should follow their heart, just go out and do the thing that they love to do. If that means walking around their neighborhood or walking through a green space, that's great. If that means going backpacking or hiking or climbing, whatever. I think that there's no right or wrong way to engage with the outdoors. I think it's just a matter of going out and having the experience that you want. I once read a book, I think it was called The Rambunctious Garden, and it was sort of an interesting look at modern nature, and it sort of changed the way that I think about nature as a whole, because the reality is that in the modern world, everything we see has been shaped by man. Like it's incredibly rare that you see primary forest. Any living thing that you see is affected by climate change, affected by rising temperatures. Like literally anything you see outdoors has been affected by human impact on Earth. And so there really is no real nature, like it's all been affected by man. And so one of the interesting takeaways from this book was that we really should start to think about nature as including things like highway medians, like green strips on the sides of roads and city parks and things like that, because those are still living things and they're still part of our ecosystem. And even though they're not what we think of as wild forests or anything, like that's still nature. It's still life on Earth. So I don't know. I just think that people's view of engaging with nature should be as broad as possible, because you really can have pretty good natural experiences close to home. You can just go out and stroll around and enjoy the trees in your neighbor's yard. That's still a nature experience in a very small way. It might not be enjoying Yosemite National Park, but it's still something. And I think it's better to be more inclusive than not. Okay, last question. What's one action that you hope everyone can take to ensure our public spaces are here and thriving for the next generation? The most important thing probably is to vote right now, just because, there is a very real possibility that public lands get sold off for mineral rights or drilling or whatever else, or just opened up for development, a bunch of condos going up in Yosemite or something. It's crazy. But so I think, voting, acting on climate, I think those are the two biggest and, most long-term things that we should be doing to protect public lands. Beyond that come the more local actions like cleaning up our parks, making sure that we're taking care of the resource in a positive way. Making sure the trails stay maintained and don't get too eroded. Making sure that the bathrooms don't get destroyed. There's all that like basic day-to-day maintenance that has to go on, and I think that that's an important use of things like the Yosemite Facelift to make sure that day-to-day operation of the park stays positive. But I do think it's important that we look at the bigger picture as well, which is, will these parks still have trees in them in 50 years if we don't slow down climate change? Like if we don't reduce human emissions, like will there even be parks to protect? That's sort of an open question. I think it's important that we keep that in mind. So that doesn't really answer the question of what's one action people should take, but I guess people should vote and think about climate and take care of their local parks as much as possible. It's a bit of a broad answer to a specific question, but that's okay. So with that long rambling monologue, I will leave you to enjoy your virtual facelift this year. I hope you are able to engage in your local parks in whatever way you can and do something useful, steward your local areas in a way that helps. In some ways I think taking the Yosemite Facelift virtual this year is a great opportunity to bring the same ethos of protecting our beloved public lands to a much bigger sphere, hopefully all over the country or maybe all over the world. I'm not sure who else sees this. So anyway, thanks for participating in the facelift, and hopefully you can make a real difference in your local community. So cheers, thanks a bunch.
Thanks to Alex. We'll take his long rambling monologues anytime. I really appreciate him taking the time to put that together for us. I appreciated him talking about this concept of how can we be the best people we can be, which I think right now in these challenging times is a question we're all considering as we're trying to be mindful of how we impact the people around us and how we support the people around us. You know, we've all gone through a pretty challenging year, and it's been on my mind. how to support myself, but also the people around me. So also appreciate the alignment with the idea of taking Facelift virtual. So we've had a great opportunity this year, haven't we, Ken?
We sure have, and yeah, it's pretty amazing. We've had participants in other countries that have signed up. It looks like Mexico and Saudi Arabia, the UK that I know of, and I imagine there's others. Hopefully we'll get some more tomorrow. So far, we have had 774 adults sign up by taking the pledge, and 137 kids have also taken the pledge.
That's amazing. That's more than 900 people. I know yesterday you had said you wanted to double it by the weekend. Doesn't look like we're going to double it, but could we hit 1,000?
Oh, I think we can. I think we could still double it.
Everyone who's watching now, let your friends know what we're doing here. You know, the next couple days, it's the weekend. Let's get people outside and picking up litter if they wouldn't have if they didn't know about this event.
I think it's really amazing, all these photos that we've gotten from the participants and the big bags of trash and to the lengths that some of these people have gone to get that trash. Like
the vertical cleanup. I mean,
Right.
the vertical cleanup at Looking Glass in South Carolina is it's amazing. It's wonderful. Those are the types of things that we've been doing in Yosemite for the last 16 years. We've always wanted to take this event outside of Yosemite, so it's great to have that opportunity this year.
It is.
Yeah.
And you want to tell us about what programs we're going to see tomorrow?
We can expect tomorrow, absolutely. So tomorrow we're going to have a tour of the permanent climbing exhibit in the Yosemite Valley Visitor Center. That is something Ken mentioned earlier he had been working on for many years. So congratulations, Ken. It's amazing. We're going to get a sneak peek at that. I don't think that's open to the public yet, is it?
It is not. So it was sort of tough, actually, to finally do this after 28 years, and then nobody can see it. So, but at least tomorrow everybody can see it.
Anticlimactic, but
It
we are
was.
going to have a sneak peek at that exhibit tomorrow. So awesome. We also have a special guest joining us, Jesse McGahee, who is the lead climbing ranger on the climbing management team in Yosemite. So that will be great. He actually appears in the tour of the visitor center as well. We have a presentation from Lauren Delaunay about women climbers in Yosemite. I'm really looking forward to that. Lauren has been working on a book in partnership with many well-known female climbers in Yosemite telling their stories, and we're looking forward to featuring her work, Lauren's, in our gallery when we can. And finally, we have our board member and friend, Tommy Caldwell, who's putting a tailored presentation together for us. We're looking forward to that. Thank you, Tommy. I want to take this opportunity to thank the other members of our board, Jason Keith, Sandy Russell, Timmy O'Neill. Ken and I are also on the board. They have been so instrumental in helping us grow. I heard in our break that Hedras is watching us today. We have a new song from Hedras. I have gotten so many comments about how amazing his playing is. So what a treat. He's going to take us out tonight. Second song from Hedras. Are we ready? We ready to dance?
I'm ready. I can't wait till he can play Yosemite.
I can't either. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Hey guys, what's up? Hedras here. I just want to say thanks to everybody that is helping with the cleaning and recycling. I think this is a great cause, and I think we should keep supporting this. I believe we should keep our oceans, our rivers and lakes, our forests, our streets very clean, and we should teach this to next generations and just keep supporting this and educating people. So great work out there, and let's keep doing this. Cheers.